Hello, Lisbon, and thank you, PJ, for the awesome open source pitch. I am excited to talk to you about the voice-enabled internet and what that has to do with every single one of you and your voices. I am Katharina Borchert. I am, which is probably rare for corporate executives, I am a little bit of a dreamer, as you will notice, and I have a really somewhat strange title. I'm the Chief Open Innovation Officer. Because in our opinion as Mozilla, when it comes to innovation, it is not only the next grand vision that matters, or the next big, beautiful, shiny thing that we build. It also matters how we create it and who is a part of this creative process. And if you look at how innovation traditionally works in companies, you have a lot of really smart people, many with PhDs. In R&D departments, you have designers. Everybody is a full-time employee, gets some equity, and they get stuck into a room, and hopefully something beautiful comes out of it. But some of you might also heard of Joy's Law. Joy's Law says that no matter who you are, most of the smartest people already work for somebody else. You will not be able to hire them no matter how awesome your brand is. And I think we see that this is particularly true in anything that is machine learning right now because it's such a hot space. And so that is where open innovation comes in. Open innovation is all about breaking down the boundaries of your corporation. It is about reaching out to all of the super smart, talented people out there, whether you build communities, whether you do co-creation, or you have open source communities and co-develop software, or you do crowdsourcing of algorithms or crowdsource your design. And for me, this goes a little bit back to, or my fascination with open innovation goes back to the early days of the internet. You will now realize how old I am because I remember the very early days of the internet when we were fascinated by this potential of this resource for public good, when we had access for the first time to vast knowledge, when we became not only consumers but also creators, when we could innovate on a level playing field together with large corporations because they weren't the gatekeepers anymore. And the younger ones among you might not realize that, but there was actually a short time on the internet where we exchanged ideas and had conversations and didn't just yell at each other online. But today, that doesn't really resemble this internet anymore, because for many people, the internet has long since become synonymous with a number of really brilliant, large companies that provide us with great services. And that while we use their great services, they collect our data, lock it into silos, and become very profitable in this process. And we have moved, or we have become very passive humans on our sofas. We have become consumers again. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody else. Back in the day, I used to have a blog. Now I shoot off a tweet or I post a quick photo on Instagram. I don't build websites anymore. I don't create anymore. And so this centralization is the state of the internet that we see today. And we also notice that there, over the past 2 years or even longer, there has been this massive shift towards voice interactions. We talk to our devices, and not just through our devices. We talk to our phones, our TVs, our cars, even our light bulbs. And these devices are these voice-enabled devices are very ubiquitous now. We're surrounded by speakers and smart machines. And you would think that with such a big paradigm shift, there would be a lot of new players in the market, creative new companies. But when you look at the voice-enabled internet and voice-enabled services, it looks like this. It is exactly the same company in theory. It looks, there, it looks like this. It is the same companies that build these amazing services that we like and that take our data and lock our data in, and then, if we want to innovate in that space, sell the data back to us. Some of you might think, now why is this woman telling me this? I realize that there is little that I can do about it. And that is true. But we wouldn't be Mozilla if we didn't think differently. And I wouldn't be a dreamer if I wouldn't at least attempt to do something about this. And sometimes even executives take their hints from some of the best movies ever made. And while we might not be able to do something on our own, I think the secret here comes from a movie and taking our cues from a movie. Because what we can do is actually build a rebel alliance. And unfortunately, you know, Lisbon, there's no parking space for a spaceship. Otherwise, I would have come in my spaceship. But so our goal is to build a global rebel alliance of passionate individuals, of startups, of NGOs, of academics, of organizations that want to break open this voice space and democratize it together with us. We want to, and that is the core idea behind our initiative Common Voice, which is all about crowdsourcing the largest globally available open data set of voice data, of training data that we can then use to train computers and build new voice-enabled machines and services and systems. And we're hoping to tackle two essential things with this. And one is the incredibly high cost in the market right now. While you might all be contributing to the voice silos that large organizations have built, if you're an entrepreneur and you need voice as part of your service, you're going to pay super big bucks. It is really hard to innovate in this space because the license fees are so high. If you're an academic, you're a researcher, it is really difficult to get your hand on data. But there's also a second problem. Currently, most of the language creation, the data creation, and the service creation addresses the large monetizable markets because companies need to make money, and it is expensive building voice-enabled anything. And so that means innovation gets stifled, but there's also a lot of people that get left behind, and especially people in other geographies that would benefit even more from voice assistance because, for example, they have literacy issues. They can't actually read well enough to benefit from the vast knowledge that is out there in the internet. But nobody's going to build voice assistants in minority languages. That is the other thing that we're really hoping to tackle with the project Common Voice by open sourcing it, by bringing in the community, by bringing in all of you and bringing in everybody, language communities, researchers, startups, people who are passionate about building this different ecosystem together with us. So how does this actually work? Those of you that know a lot about probably more about voice than me know that basically what you need to do is you need to build a database of spoken word and match that with corresponding written sentences that then the algorithms can learn from to understand human speech. And in order to do that, we have built a very simple website that you can go to and a simple app that all of you can download immediately that's called Common Voice. And what you can do is simply donate your voice. You look at one of the mostly absurd curated sentences you find in there and you read it into your phone. If after 3 days of Web Summit you have already entirely lost your voice, fear not, you can still help us, because of course all of this needs to be validated as well. So you can also listen to other people speaking absurd sentences and saying, yes, this is actually a match. But you can also take the data set and play with it. You can download it in its entirety, and we're going to upload a new and larger data set and update it probably towards the end of this month or next month. And if you're a startup that has any kind of usable voice data and wants to contribute back to this hopefully largest collection of human training data, you can talk to us and we'll figure out how you can add your voice and your data that you collect back to this public database for public good so that we all benefit from it. But of course, training data is only one small part of the equation. You also need the speech recognition engine, and that is our project Deep Speech. And of course, we wouldn't be Mozilla if we didn't open source it. So we brought out the first version of our speech recognition engine, Deep Speech, in November last year, pretty much exactly a year ago. And we also released the first pre-trained model in English. Because even if you have downloaded all of this data, if you were to train your own model, good luck doing that on your own PC. It will take months of data crunching. And there's a pretty big investment. You can decide, do you want to buy the machinery to build the model and train the model and crunch the data, or do you want to buy a sports car? I can't make that decision for you. That's why we're also releasing the pre-trained model. We've started in English. We hope that more languages will follow. So far, we have collected about 1,200 hours of voice data in 16 different languages. And other than English, we didn't determine these languages. It was local language communities that took action and decided, I want to be a part of this. I want my language to be a part of this. That explains why we don't only have large dominant languages like English, French, Chinese, German, but also small languages like Welsh or Catalan or Breton. And we have another 60 languages in progress, driven entirely by global communities that care about language, that care about this topic, that want to enable more speech assistance in different languages. We have over 200 people helping us develop the open source code for these models, for our software, and over 100,000 people have already contributed their voice. And I have no idea how many people are sitting here, but if you all contributed to it later and get another 5 people to do this, these numbers will go up really, really soon. And because it's always nicer to be a part of the winning team, it's also great to see the recognition we got this year. We were one of the open source rookies of the year, and we were a finalist for the Innovation by Design Award. And there are many things that I love about this project, apart from like the great mission and building technology for good and for the future of all humanity. But what I really like is this very global approach and this very collaborative approach where we have come up with the idea together with our communities, where we have co-developed the code as open source, where we have co-designed the software, where we have crowdsourced all of the voice data, and where a whole lot of people are contributing not only their individual voices, but also already reaching out to us to contribute larger data sets to make this a truly global effort and to really put the human and the human voice back into the technology. So I can only ask all of you to switch for a moment from being passive consumers to becoming active and to becoming creators again. And it's not easy being a part of an open source community. And I've often struggled with not being a developer, not being a part of so much of what makes Mozilla such a great, vibrant community. But this really is something that every single person can take part in and should take part in, because this resource concerns us all, and this is important for us all. So I invite you to be part of the Rebel Alliance. You don't even have to wear funny things on your ears. You can come as you are, download Common Voice, contribute to our project, donate your voice, and help us open up a fairly closed voice ecosystem. Thank you very much.